Wow. As reports have continued to drop surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays and Pete Alonso, some brand new reports have dropped revealing some surprising information surrounding what Pete Alonso's camp is currently thinking, as this pertains to the Blue Jays, what is on the table for the Jays when it comes to Pete Alonso. We're going to break down these reports and discuss what this means going forward, as it is Jays fans confused and a little bit fired up. We're going to break that down, as well as discuss some other updates from some reporters surrounding both Bregman and Alonso. So stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. Before we get into it, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, it's the place to be for daily Jays content. About 71% of you who are watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. And if you aren't subscribed, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Thank you guys for your continued support as we're on the road to 16K. Now, had a video earlier today on the Alex Bregman situation, as well as the Pete Alonso, the Anthony Santander, update. But some new reports have dropped today, and one dropped just a little bit ago. And it is very confusing. And we've obviously been hearing surrounding Pete Alonso how he kind of wants to go back to the Mets and that he doesn't want to be a Blue Jay. Some more reports have come out confirming some of that news, and it's a little bit unfortunate, but it's also interesting. So we're going to dive into it all. Let's start with this here. It is viewed, and this is from Pat Ragoso. He has been right on the money with all this stuff regarding Pete Alonso, New York writer, I believe. It is viewed around the industry, this is from a New York writer, that Pete Alonso does not want to go to the Blue Jays. Otherwise, he would have signed the contract already, and really, he just wants to go back with the Mets. So this dropped, and it had fans up in arms a little bit for a few different reasons. I mean, we're at the point now, and Bob Nightingale kind of alluded to this in yesterday's report, and I covered it in the video earlier today and last night. It's at the point now where it's like with Pete Alonso, we are now 2 weeks away, but over in 2 weeks away from, pitchers and catchers and spring training starting to get underway, right? And Pete Alonso is still yet to sign. It has been reported that the Jays have a ton of offers on the table for Pete Alonso, for Alex Bregman, all these different guys, but specifically regarding Pete Alonso, there's been a bunch of reports, 3 years, 75 with some deferred money, and that the deal was almost done last week and all these different things. And right now, it has just come out kind of confirming the fact that he doesn't seem to want to even go to the Jays. Otherwise, he would have signed the contract already. Now, a couple different things to go with this. One, it's kind of obvious that either there's some leverage being played here or Pete Alonso. I mean, obviously his preferred destination is the Mets, but it has come out from the New York Mets side. Hey, we don't really want Pete Alonso back at the number he wants. So it's going to come down to Pete Alonso either sucking it up and coming to Toronto, in his mind, sucking it up. Obviously, there's tons of players who want to come here now. I mean, you talk about, not tons, but you talk about Max Scherzer, Anthony Santander, more players, not tons. More players are starting to be open to the idea. Pete Alonso is not one of those guys, right? But when you think about it from the other perspective, this is an interesting tweet from Josh. It is also viewed around the industry that the Mets don't want Alonso. Otherwise, they would have offered him a contract he is willing to sign already, which is also true. So it seems like Pete Alonso doesn't want the Jays. The Mets don't want Alonso, but the Jays want Alonso. So clearly, if the Mets, if Alonso had an offer from the Mets that if he would have liked, he would have signed already with the Mets. Now, this report is saying he would have otherwise gone to the Jays if the Jays offered a decent contract, which isn't the case at all. Clearly what is happening here is that the Mets are refusing to offer him a decent offer, or they offered one in the past, according to some reports, and then took it out from underneath him. And he wants to return to the Mets. So he is buying as much time as he can. He is delaying as much time as he can to see if Steve Cohen goes up and buys gives him more money. If that doesn't happen, then he's going to be a Toronto Blue Jay. And that's where it currently stands right now. He really wants to go back to the Mets, but the Jays have an offer on the table that is solid. But Pete Alonso, and some of the reason we were hearing all these talks before was, last week, was because of the fact that, hey, Pete Alonso was probably close to signing with the Jays, but then Steve Cohen came in and said, okay, let's try to work something out. They haven't been able to work anything out as of yet. So now they're at a point where they can't work anything out, and it's just a stalemate. But the fact that this came out that he doesn't want to be a Blue Jay, it kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth, because it's like, why? I mean, I get it. Why the Jays are offering him a contract and things like that. But if he doesn't want to be here, you think about Anthony Santander and how good he has, all this information that comes out. He had a better offer from, another team. And then, of course, he took the Jays, not necessarily a better offer, it came in late, but Santander wanted to be a Blue Jay. He made it happen. They talked from the start. There was also another report. You can see this here, a couple other reports to go over here. Fans see a homegrown star hit one of the most important homers in organization's history. The Matrix sees a declining asset. It is the difference between thinking with your heart and thinking like a computer. There's a chance the Mets end up with an egg on their face if Alonso, say, goes to Toronto and hits 40 home runs and they never solve first base, but it is low, especially because I would think all their models have a downside for Alonso as he ages that worries them. And this is from a New York reporter as well, basically saying the Mets see him as a declining asset who won't necessarily make them a ton better given the amount of money he wants. And you see this here. So far, though, Cohen has not shown that inclination. And we know what it looks like when he does. He made sure no one would outbid him for the Mets. He did so by signing Lindor. He did so by getting Yoshinobu Yamamoto last offseason, and he did it in winning for Soto with by far the largest contract in MLB history. Nothing that has happened with Alonso's free agency to date suggests the Mets will offer him more than what they think he is worth in years and dollars. Nothing has hinted at them breaking from this discipline, which is good news for Toronto, because if the amount that they offered him, Mets that is, to Alonso, it was even close to the years and dollars, he would have been a New York Met. And unless Steve Cohen decides to suck it up and go up and offer a little bit more money, he's going to be a Toronto Blue Jay, because all signs are pointing to the Toronto Blue Jays being the only other team with an offer on the table at this point. And we don't even think, reports are coming out that the Mets might not even have an offer on the table right now. We know they had an offer at the start, 3 years, 75. They pulled that after Alonso wanted more. And now it just seems like the Jays is the only offer on the table. He wants to go to the Mets, so he's waiting as long as he possibly can until the Mets say, okay, we're either going to completely back off or we'll give you your money. But according to this report from a New York writer, it doesn't seem like they're going to overpay for Pete Alonso, whatever their models say, right? You can see this here. There's widespread industry belief that Alonso's preference is to remain with the Mets. This theory makes sense given he has yet to sign a deal with the Toronto Blue Jays, who he's speaking to for a while now. But we know that Max Scherzer and Pete Alonso are friends, so clearly the Max Scherzer signing helped a little bit, you would assume. So it might help soften the blow if he doesn't want to come to the Jays and maybe say, okay, we'll go to the Jays, and maybe it's a 3-year deal with an opt-out after the first year or something of that nature. But the situation now, I made a video yesterday how it's getting out of hand. It's just weird because I don't think the Mets are going to go up in their offer. I can't imagine the Jays are going to, up their offer a ton anyway, especially if he doesn't really want to be here. Pete's entire market is two teams that are both clearly sticking to their current evaluations and offers. Just make a decision, sir. That is exactly what's happening right now. The Jays have their offer, 3 years, 75, around there. The Mets have, whatever their offer has been since the start, it might not even be on the table anymore. And Pete Alonso wants more from the Mets. And if not, he'll come to the Jays. And that seems to be the current spot on it. And these new reports have kind of shown that. And let me know down below what your thoughts are on this, because it's very interesting. You don't see this very often. He seems to be willing to delay this as long as humanly possible to hopefully return to the Mets. And again, he was an all-star last year. He's a solid player, all these different things. But he is a declining player in the sense of he doesn't provide much, positional versatility at all. He's a first baseman / DH. He's not great at first base defensively, according to the metrics. He strikes out a ton. So, or he doesn't strike out a ton, but he strikes out a decent bit. So then now you're thinking, okay, what do you really do with this, with this asset here? He would help with the Blue Jays because the Blue Jays desperately need power, right? You need power if you're the Toronto Blue Jays. So, okay, you need power. Pete Alonso makes a ton of sense. You figure it out with first base, Vladdy, maybe move him to third. If the Jays have the only offer on the table, eventually Pete Alonso is going to have to take it, right? Or he's going to have to settle with the Mets' original offer and hope that Steve Cohen brings it back. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. Tons of new reports are coming out. But also, Hector Gomez came out and said the Jays have offers of Pete Alonso for 3 years and Bregman for 6 years. The Jays are in play to land either of them, which is, again, we'll cover this in a future video as new reports come out. But regarding the Jays here, their offer is confirmed by multiple people now to be 3 years. You would assume 75-ish million. So it's going to be up to Pete Alonso to decide, okay, when I say suck it up and come to the Blue Jays, that's in his mind. He doesn't want to be a Blue Jay, according to multiple reports, which leads me to believe I'm not sure how many fans are going to want him to be a Blue Jay. Ultimately, if he signs, also cheer for him. He hits a ton of bombs. It would be great. But at the same time, you have to think about here, Santander absolutely wanted to be a Blue Jay. But you could also argue that Jeff Hoffman didn't really want to be a Blue Jay because he signed 2 other contracts that ultimately fell through. So it's going to be interesting. The situation is getting a little bit out of hand here. But either way, we're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news because tons of new reports and rumors and mainly reports and information is starting to circulate now, especially because it's such a interesting scenario that has come to a stalemate. Some stuff is leaking through the cracks. We're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news. So make sure to smash that subscribe button. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.